Alright, we're on the draw with Rug Delver. And I'm assuming they're going to pick play. We might be on the play with Rug Delver, but I really doubt it. There we go. This hand is a keep. I like any blue source plus serum visions as long as the rest of the hand is not total garbage. And this hand does not look like it's total garbage, so we're going to keep. I think they mulled a couple times. No, it just asked me if I wanted to mull. That was weird. I think it showed some business here. Okay, that could hurt. It looks, well, we're definitely up against an aggro deck. It very well may be burn. Unfortunately, we don't really have a choice but to use the Serum Visions, and we also have to fetch Shock. Of course, we'd fetch Shock anyways, because just having an island against burn and no other lands in hand is completely miserable. So we're going to get our Steam Vents, hoping to find running lightning bolts or something to that effect. And we're going to use this Serum Visions to get some gas. Okay, it's not removal. We can't shock Scour Mandrills next turn. We definitely don't want the Goyf, because we won't have a land to play it, and to be honest, I think we need this breeding pool. As sad as it's going to be. So next turn what we're looking to do is play breeding pool tapped if we can, because it looks like they're on something very aggressive. Like I said, it's probably burn, but we're not going to call it burn just for the sake of maybe it's like a Zoo deck. I don't think Zoo actually runs Swift Spear. Maybe it does. And we're going to be taking lumps, so we don't really want to shock. Shocking puts us down to 12. We have no removal. That doesn't sound good. I like playing Breeding Pool tapped and then holding up Thought Scour. Maybe denial something if they give us the chance to. If we Thought Scour, next turn we can play Mandrills with, say, Denial up. And that's relatively attractive, given that our current options are very, very bleak. There's a Helix. We are going to take this chance to counter that. Next turn we will probably just go Scour plus Mandrills, as opposed to scouring this turn and taking this 4. We go to 10. Helix puts us down to 7. Of course, next turn we can hold up Denial since we have Mandrills and we didn't have to play the Thought Scour right now. But we can either counter a Helix or counter an arbitrary spell that may or may not show up. I like countering the Helix of those two options. We also are probably just going to use this Traverse to grab a Forest. It puts a free card in our graveyard for Mandrills number 2. It is on, but we don't want to tutor right now. That would be actively bad. We're just going to get a Forest. We have the option to get any land, but we don't want to pay Shock. So if we get a land, it's this Forest. We want to cast Mandrills. And we don't want any creature because we need to be playing things right now. We are at 10. They have 3 cards and 2 1/2s. So we need to affect the board, not find a bunch of fun stuff. We're going to leave the Tarfire, if at all possible, because we have Snapcaster. So next turn, on their turn, we're almost certainly going to block. And we will follow that up with Snap Tarfire after we untap. Couple running mana leaks, and we might get out of this alive. I'm assuming that's 4 to the face. Yeah, it's just to the face. So we're gonna go down to 4. We'll block here. We're not going to go with the Snapcaster play. Since we have 2 blue sources, we're going to use Delver as extra pressure. We're going to keep Mandrills back to block. Tap that. May as well not let them know we're not casting red spells. Our game plan before, I was thinking attack with Mandrills, Snap Tarfire, take out the second Swift Spear. Now we have a clock going, but we're at 4. So then any hasty creature really puts us in a bad spot. Instead, we're going to make up for not attacking by adding to our future clock with this Delver, and we're going to hold up Mana Leak for when they play spells. Our clock is slightly slower this way, but we're a lot safer. Snap Tarfire forces us to tap out. We're dead to Boros Charm. Technically, we're still dead to Boros Charm because they have enough lands. But dead to Boros Charm anyways. We can at least counter something this way. And we didn't know they'd have this land. Tarka's command, we're going to let go. We still block. I don't even care if that Swift Spear becomes a 4/5. We're jumping in front of it. We cannot afford to take all these damages. 3, can't gain life, that's okay. If I wanted to feed the clan, I'd do it in response. Kind of strange that he didn't do the +1/+1 mode. Very strange. We don't want to bother mana leaking that, because we can just mana leak what they do after. They would just pay for it, so it doesn't matter. We're also not going to cast any spells, because if we do, we tap out, and that's a good sign for them to just kill us. We'll take our flip. Now, if they are patient, it's highly likely we're just dead, because we can't leak. So as long as they wait to untap before casting any spells, it's highly likely that we're just going to die. We will cast the Serum Visions though. As long as we keep our 2 mana up, it doesn't really change things for us. Tarmogoyf is terrible right now. And that does it. We try to stop it, but alas, not attacking with Delver also isn't exactly feasible to play around a potential Goblin Guide, because their deck is how many burn spells? I'm not going to bother trying to approximate it, it's a lot. They have a very high chance of drawing them late game, so you need to clock as soon as possible. So we can't really sit back waiting to block their one creature, not one creature, but waiting to block one of the 4 Goblin Guides they could draw, when they could also draw Lightning Bolt, Lava Spike, Rift Bolt, all sorts of things that would just kill us on the spot anyways. So you don't really lose anything by attacking there. I believe you actually just gain by giving them fewer draw steps. Now, against burn, we like to do some things. Most of it involves Huntmaster. We definitely don't want Dismember. Dismember is awful. I also don't want Explosives because it's going to take a minimum of 3 damage, and that would only clean up Goblin Guides and Swift Spears. That would be bad. We don't want Reveler because Reveler is slow and requires us to cut Hooting Mandrills. Hooting Mandrills is amazing because it's a 4/4 for generally 1 to 2 mana. It's Goyf's 5 to 8. Goyf is good at sitting down and blocking Goblin Guides all day until you kill them, and then Goyf turns sideways and kills the other guy. So we want those. I might cut one of these Snapcasters to drop a little bit of graveyard heaviness, because we are bringing in the 4th Traverse. But Traverse in this matchup is primarily for getting lands so that you could cast these 3 Huntmasters we're bringing in. So I don't feel too bad about turning off Delirium. There's a lower chance than against a random matchup that we would want the Delirium mode as opposed to the basic land mode. Spell Snare is excellent. Vapor Snag is about as good as Dismember. We'll probably cut a number of Thought Scours because we want to go maximum removal. We are on the play, so we like Mana Leak a little more than Pyroclasm here. On the draw, Pyroclasm lets you catch up heavily on tempo and cards. On the play, Mana Leak does that a little more proactively, while also defending against burn spells that they might top deck. Denial is still good, and in fact, quite possibly could have saved us that game, especially if we had Denial instead of Leak. Leak was really bad there. I think I might actually trim one. When they hit a bunch of lands, Leak looks terrible, and I think we just take out one of these Thought Scours to round it out. We're a little graveyard heavy with all the Mandrills, the Snaps, and the Traverses, but like I said, I don't think these Traverses are going to strain our graveyard for this game, and the 3rd game if we get there, so I think that's correct. We're going to be on the play, because that's a good idea. And this hand is kind of not great, although we do have a Spell Snare. And we have Bauble. We're going to mulligan. I don't think 2 Mandrills basically brings us down 1 card already. Huntmaster, we're quite far from casting. This hand is so much better. Oh my god, is this hand better. Unfortunately, we're not going to be drawing that Steam Vents. What we will do is get a Steam Vents anyways, so maybe we are getting that Steam Vents. Although Xmage doesn't let you just take the top card, so we don't know if it was that Steam Vents, but we can always dream. We can dream. We want to go with Delver over Serum Visions here, I think, particularly with this Bauble, and we're just going to crack Bauble on their upkeep. Often you want to Serum Visions first, but having the Bauble gets us a little deeper anyways, and it synergizes with Delver for the Pseudo Scry and the Pseudo Delver setup, so I like it. We're going to sack and look at your top card. No, I was supposed to look at mine. I just gave away the Pseudo Delver Scry. Okay, well that's what not to do when you are running Mishra's Bauble. We will now go to our turn because we are out of effects. We want Steam Vents instead of Breeding Pool here because Tarfire is a higher priority than Tarmogoyf, especially when you have the 1 land. We are going to be killing that Swift Spear, most likely next turn. Unless we hit a green source for Tarmogoyf, in which case that's probably better. We may as well have Delver's Trigger go on the stack first. We'll just draw first. It doesn't matter anymore because I didn't look properly. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. It didn't matter, but that was still a very incorrect decision regardless of the result. Do not do that. Now, we do have the source that we need, but we could also, we're going to swing regardlessly because they cannot block. So we get in for 1, and I very much like Tarfiring and just leaving a Scalding Tarn on the battlefield to fetch on the end step. Of course. No, that is best. I don't want to Serum Visions yet, because that would require either we get an island, and then we have to fetch for a green source for the Goyf. That resets the Vision Scry. Searing Blaze is fine. It's actually kind of actively good for us in a twisted way. They're not playing to the board. I mean, it's card advantage for them, but at the same time, they're not gaining tempo on us. This matchup is all about tempo. That's why we play to the board as often as possible. Okay. Another Scalding Tarn is fine. We're going to use one of them to get an island, and we're going to Serum Visions. Resetting the Vision Scry isn't as pertinent as it was before we had a third land, because now the only real reason we could want to play this fourth land, as opposed to the third land, we wanted to play it so that we could do, say, Goyf Visions. I want this Stubborn Denial. I don't really care about this Delver. And Traverse is probably online, which will likely get us a Snapcaster shortly. Not this turn, of course, because, like I said, play 2 board. It's going to be their turn. So with the 2 lands in play, and the potential to play Serum Visions and then fetch, that's bad because you set up 1 draw, and you want to play the 3rd land sooner so that you could play 2 spells in a turn. Whereas when we already have 3 lands, we can play 2 spells in a turn without necessarily needing this 4th one, so that we could set up the Scry for longer if we like both cards. Or if we really don't like both cards, we can prevent shuffling them in for as long as possible. Goyf is absolutely massive because of that Bauble and the Tarfire. That's it. So yeah, Delirium's on. And I mean, they could triple bolt it. We might just get another Tarmogoyf. Honestly, it's just so big. That's probably better than getting... Okay, no. If they're going for straight burn, we're going to want to get a Snapcaster Mage. They have 3 cards in hand. We could very well die quite soon. We'll play our Scalding Tarn and just fetch out a Snapcaster Mage. We are going to swing. Pay green. We only have the 1 green source. We need to clock them very, very quickly. The snap, it starts with an S. There it is. We want to make sure we don't click the wrong card, because that would be kind of disastrous. We have a 3-turn clock currently, but if we play the Snapcaster and it doesn't need to chump, or I suppose trade, because Snapcaster doesn't usually leave their creatures around, then we get that down to a 2-turn clock. We can also flashback Tarfire if they don't present anything that we need to deal with. Our main plan, though, is to just denial and hang back. Ideally, we would denial, next turn snap denial, and just not need to do much at all. If they, no, yeah, they wouldn't shock here because that would take a turn off of our clock. But if they need that land, they will have to. We're going to denial the Helix because we really don't want them to have that mana. Sorry, to have the 3 points of life. This is excellent. I don't know why they're fetching, but it's excellent for us because now Goyf is lethal. If they have another burn spell, it doesn't really matter. Letting both resolve would kill us, and there's not really anything besides Boros Charm that kills us here, which they don't have. Is it a Rift Bolt? I would love for it to be a Rift Bolt, actually, because then Goyf just untaps and kills them. Their best play, I believe, nope. The best thing they could do would be creature block, but then we untap, snap, Tarfire. Game? I believe they took enough damage, but I think they might have been at 6, so if we actually snap Tarfire, Goyf becomes a 5/6 and they survive. So I'm not positive what the line would be if they did have a creature, but if they did, they declined to play it. I believe we just run this back. It was quite nice. I could see boarding out Bobble, particularly on the draw because Eidolon is better for them, and Bobble is kind of miserable against Eidolon. On the draw, we also like Pyroclasm over Mana Leak, because Mana Leak will fall off quite soon, and Pyroclasm is great value. Great value. That's Walmart's brand. Great value on the draw when you can pick up a couple creatures, ensure it's even on tempo, and often get up on cards. We're going to run this. We still don't mind Graveyard Reliance off these 10, because Traverse, while it did that game, it's unlikely to do so this game. No, we're going to keep Bobble to try to mitigate that a bit. I don't think we're going to have much trouble against Eidolon here. This hand is amazing. This is probably among the upper echelon of top tier hands that you could possibly have in this matchup. I'm not sure what I would want to replace these cards with. I'm looking at turn 1 Lightning Bolt. We're probably going to turn 2 Tarmogoyf. We're going to get a Stomping Ground with this Wooded Foothills for the Lightning Bolt. We're going to keep this. This is amazing. Stomping Ground with this, play this. Turn 2, we get an island off of the Scalding Tarn. We'd rather although, no, we're not getting Breeding Pool Mountain. We could get Steam Vents Forest because we have more green cards than we do blue cards, but we're not playing both of these in the same turn anyway, so that argument for needing green above blue/red is completely moot. I'm considering not dropping this Lightning Bolt in hopes that we can pick up a better trade with Pyroclasm, but I think we're better off just going for the conservative value and trying to minimize whatever damage they can do. Stomping Ground. Until we fall dramatically behind, I don't think it's correct to go for a more high-risk, high-reward play like that, where, say, if they don't get anything in the graveyard, Lavamancer only does 1, and then say they play an Eidolon, and then we can clean both up with Pyroclasm. Obviously, we would want to use Thought Scour on our turn 1, so we don't just waste our turn. They only bolted our face, which is amazing. This is probably going to grab us a forest. Let's grab an island and play Tarmogoyf. Them not having a second land is great and makes that bolt play even better. Although we don't make that play considering the possibility of them not having that land, because we don't have any information as to their hand right now. So that would be kind of silly. We will just assume the average scenario where they will be hitting their lands, and Pyroclasm still probably is not worth it. We can Snap Bolt this turn, which is probably our best play. Another option, we're going to drop this land. I'm considering attacking first to see if they block, but that gives them more options for reducing clock. They already have their own Bolt in the yard, but they also have a Grim Lavamancer, so we're not changing the Goyf clock here, which is a little disappointing. We could Pyroclasm and swing. Gets our clock up 1, but I don't think that affects anything yet. We are going to attack. If they block, our clock is 1 turn off, but we are also mitigating what they could do because they are stuck on one land. So if they give up their turn to chump Goyf, and we play a land and cast spells, we're still getting ahead because our game plan is progressing more than theirs is. We are, though, going to move these to the side because I really don't want to risk screwing this up by covering the forest with one of those windows. We get our forest, go to 12. 12 is a good number. Snapcaster blue-green. Let's get this graveyard back into view. We want that one. Trigger may resolve. We're going to do this now because we don't want to let them activate the Grim Lavamancer. Lightning bolt that. Pay red. We're basically just looking to cut their outs as much as possible while killing them basically with our clock. They just put a sorcery in the graveyard. So we have an almost 2-turn clock. Our yard is full of land, so this traverse is not looking particularly good. But what we could do is swing for 6, get them to 8, Thought Scour, Mandrills, and I don't believe there's much they can do. We're going to Thought Scour first to increase Goyf's size potentially. It didn't. We did draw a Spell Snare, so I'm actually going to traverse for an island. Even though it's extremely unlikely that they can kill us. The only possible out I see them having right now is if they ran, say, Simian Spirit Guide to get extra mana, because even if they play a second land, we go down to 3 off of 2 Lightning Bolts, or Lightning Bolt-like cards. Rift Bolt, well, not Rift Bolt, because that doesn't happen, but Lava Spike, Shard Volley. I don't think they're running Shard Volley because Naya generally does not. And they see the clock. Spell Snare is not relevant, like I said, but still, we may as well get it because we have it. And that'll do. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the burn matchup. It's generally fairly favorable, unless you end up in a scenario like that game 1, where you just draw the wrong half of your deck, as control players like to put it. Or, I suppose Jund too. Jund draws the wrong half of its deck sometimes when it gets the threats instead of the removal against, say, Burn, or it gets the removal instead of the threats against Tron. But Jund is kind of control in Modern anyways because everything's lower to the ground. So, hope you guys liked that, and I hope you come back for the next one. Bye!